dear children, how are you? Certainly fine, I'm sure. Now tell me something, students. Have you seen some birds that comes to your house and you keep silence and observe what kind of things they do? Yes, many of you must have done, because I personally on my level have done this many times. When some birds come to our house, we get very much fascinated by it and we keep silence and observe all the things that it does. And do you know this process is having a name? Yes, it does have. That is known as bird watching. This process of observing a bird by not speaking a single word and observing the activities that are done by the bird is known as bird watching. Now you would wonder why ma'am is asking these things, because these many things are there that we are going to read in our today's lesson, and today that we are going to cover is lesson bird. Today we are going to read a new lesson, birds, and that is written by Pratibha Nath. The author Pratibha Nath is a child writer. She is a child writer. So she writes many articles and many write-ups to encourage the little children, and this lesson, students, is in form of a letter, and that too informal letter. If you remember in your communication class, you have learned what are informal letters. So this lesson is written in the form of an informal letter that is written by Rita to Ruchi. Rita and Ruchi are two best friends. So Rita is writing this letter to Ruchi to tell her about her new passion, that is bird watching. Let us see what all things does she write in her letter.
Now students, as I've told you that this lesson is in form of informal letter. So as you can see on the top of the letter, one address is given. And if you recall, whose address do we write on the top of the letter? Yes, it is the sender's address. So who is the sender here? Rita. So on the topmost of this letter, Rita's address is given, and then we start the letter. Got your letter and your address sure sounds great. Prakeet Hill, Kasoli. It must be a heavenly place. As for us, we will be stuck at home during these holidays because father has work. Since my brother is out most of the time playing football, mother and I are left to amuse ourselves. But I'm not bored at all. No sir. And that's because I have got a new brand hobby. It's hold your breath, bird watching. I must tell you how it started. Now here Rita is starting the letter and she is saying that from your letter I came to know that you are at Kasoli. It must be a heavenly place. As for us, she is saying, for us we will be at home during these holidays because we can't go out because my father is having some work. And my brother is most of the time he is out to play the football, and me and my mother are left at home and we entertain ourselves. But I am not bored. Rita is saying कि मैं बोर नहीं होती because I have got a new hobby. And what was that hobby? Yes, that hobby is bird watching. She is telling to Ruchi that I have got a new hobby, and the name of that hobby is bird watching. If you remember in the beginning of the lesson, I have told you what is bird watching. Yes, it is a process of watching the bird quietly and silently and observing what all thing do they do. Yes. So she is saying, now listen to me how I got this new hobby of bird watching. Lots of birds come to our little garden in the morning. She is saying, in morning हमारे जो garden में बहुत सारे birds आते हैं. That's the time when mother sits in veranda to chop the vegetable, and that time only my mother sits in the veranda to cut the vegetables. One morning she was shelling the peas, and one fat pea slipped from her hand and rolled to the edge of the veranda where a chubby male sparrow came to inspect it. Now what happened one morning? एक morning क्या होता है? When the mother was peeling the peas, जब उसकी मम्मा peel कर रही होती हैं peas को, one piece of pea slipped from her hand and it just rolled to the edge of the veranda. Now their veranda was having a slopy edge. Their veranda was having a slopy edge. As you can see the picture on your screen of the sloping edge, you can come to know what is sloping edge. Now what happens? जैसे ही वो मटर का दाना वहाँ गिरता है, one fat sparrow comes down to inspect it. Inspect means कि पता करने के लिए what is this. The sparrow tried to eat the pea, but it slipped again and rolled down the slope of the skirts of our veranda. Now जब उस sparrow ने try किया to eat that pea, what happened? It just got slipped and it rolled from the edge of the veranda. Away flew the sparrow after the pea. As the pea was rolling down the edge of the slope, the bird was flying after it too. Then a strange thing happened. When the pea came to the stop at the bottom of the slope, the sparrow did not try to eat it. Instead, he opened his beak wide, picked up the pea and brought it back to the top of the slope. Now she is saying कि अभी कुछ strange thing happened. What happened? जब पी वहाँ slope की edge की slope पे it got stopped, the sparrow did not eat it. Sparrow ने उसको खाया नहीं. Instead, what did it do? It just opened the beak and picked the pea and brought it back to the top of the slope. He put down the pea, gave it a little nudge. Nudge is push. तो उसने क्या किया? उसने दोबारा से उसको स्लॉप के ऊपर रख दिया मटर के दाने को एंड जस्ट गेव द लिटिल पुश. उसने वहाँ उस दाने को दोबारा से वहाँ से धकेल दिया. अवे रोल द पी डाउन द स्लोप. एज अगेन व्हाट हैपेंड? पी वॉज रोलिंग डाउन द स्लोप एंड स्पैरो वॉज फॉलोइंग द पी. When the pea stopped, the sparrow brought it up again and yet again. तो क्या हुआ? जैसे ही वो मटर का दाना वहाँ स्लोप पे रुका, again sparrow did not eat it. It brought it back to the top and placed it and then again pushed it and then went back after it, then brought it back. So it was kind of play for the sparrow. And so the sparrow played the ball till our Mali appeared on the scene, hose pipe in the hand. Mr. Sparrow promptly flew away. And this Rita is saying कि वो sparrow तब तक उस मटर के दाने के साथ खेलते रही. As a ball, it treated that मटर का दाना as a ball. उसके साथ तब तक खेलती रही जब तक माली वहाँ पे नहीं आ गया. And Mali was carrying a hose pipe in the hand. As you can see the picture of hose pipe on your screen, and after seeing that Mali, the sparrow promptly flew away. What is promptly? Promptly is immediately flew away. Since that day, I have been taken up with birds and I spend my mornings watching them. Now, कहते कि उस दिन के बाद से I got a passion about this activity that is known as bird watching, and I spend all my mornings watching these birds. Recently, one of my mother's uncle came to visit us. He is a retired colonel and something of a naturalist. Now, she is saying कि अभी क्या हुआ? Recently, one of my mother's uncle has came to visit us and he is a naturalist. What is a naturalist? He is a person who is interested in animals, birds and plants and whatever kinds of natures. He and I got talking about birds and he told me a fantastic story. Now, as this Rita is fond of the birds now, she has got a new passion of bird watching. So both uncle and Rita, they were talking and uncle told Rita a very fantastic story. His garden in Kolkata has a lawn with the tall trees on one side. So uncle is having a garden. In that garden, on one side there are neither grass nor flowers would grow in the shade of these trees, so uncle decided to have them chopped down. तो क्या होता है कि उन ट्रीज़ के आसपास ना तो कोई फ्लावर्स ग्रो होते हैं ना ही कोई ग्रास ग्रो होती है. सो व्हाट डिड अंकल डिसाइड? अंकल डिसाइडेड दैट he will be cutting down those trees. Chopping means cutting down. Nobody knew that a pair of crows had built their nest in one of these trees. अभी किसी को नहीं पता था कि उन ट्रीज में एक क्रोज के पेयर ने अपना नेस्ट बनाया हुआ था. When the branches hit the ground, what is branches hit the ground? That means when the tree got cut and the branches came to the ground, the nest was smashed into the pieces and eggs were ruined. Smashed means broken, and the nest was broken and eggs were ruined. Ruined means खराब हो गए, and they were also broken. For weeks afterward, whenever anyone appeared in the garden, the crows would attack with a beak and claw. Now what happened? As उनके जो eggs थे वो ruin हो गए थे, so crow were having a lot of anger in them. तो आगे आने वाले जितने भी weeks थे, थोड़े weeks के लिए, if anyone would go in that garden, तो crow उन पे attack कर देते थे अपने beak और claws के साथ. They would dart like small black fighter planes and sometimes even draw blood. Now वो जो भी वहाँ जाता था आने वाले कुछ हफ्तों के लिए उन पर अटैक कर देते थे, जैसे कि छोटे छोटे फाइटर प्लेन्स होते हैं ब्लैक कलर, एंड समटाइम टू दैट एक्सटेंट दैट द ब्लड कम्स आउट ऑफ वंस बॉडी. This note paper is nearly covered with my scrawl. Scrawl means bad handwriting. So now Rita is saying that I have written many things on this piece of paper in my bad handwriting, but I'll squeeze in just one more real life story. कहते कि बस अब मैं I will just end it up this letter with one more real life story. This is about a pair of pigeons named Rags and Tatters. They belong to a doctor who lives 2 houses down our street. Now she is saying कि I will tell you one real life story of the animals or the birds once again. So this story is about a pair of pigeons जिनका क्या नाम था? Rags and Tatters, and they belong to a doctor. और वो किसी डॉक्टर के थे. They were that doctor was living 2 houses down the street of Rita. Rag and Tatters have a little coop of own on the terrace where they spend the nights. Now Rags and Tatters का अपना एक केज था जिसमें वो रात को रहा करते थे टेरेस पे. बट ऑल डे लॉन्ग दे आर फ्री टू फ्लाई अराउंड. पर वो दिन में they were very much free to fly anywhere they wanted to. For some reason Rags is very fond of doctor. तो राग जो पिजन था वो डॉक्टर से बहुत प्यार करता था. ही वॉज वेरी फॉन्ड ऑफ. व्हेन द डॉक्टर इज एट होम ही मस्ट प्ले विद राग्स और ही गेट्स वेरी अनॉयड. कहते हैं कि जब डॉक्टर घर होता है तो उसको राग्स के साथ खेलना ही पड़ता है, अदरवाइज राग्स गेट्स अनॉयड. He sits on doctor's shoulder and pecks hard at the poor man's ears till the doctor gives up everything else and turns his undivided attention towards Rags. So whenever the doctor is at home, तो जो Rags है he usually sits at doctor's shoulders and pecks. What is pecks? Pecks means bites. He bite at doctor's ear जब तक वो अपने सारे काम छोड़कर अपनी attention Rags की तरफ नहीं करता. If pecking at the ear does not work, Rags flies to the floor. अब जब वो देखता है कि मेरे बाइट करने से भी कुछ नहीं हो रहा, then it comes to the floor. He catches the hold of the metal end of the doctor's shoelace and pulls till the lace come. At this, the doctor simply has to turn to Rags. Now she says कि when Rags come down to the floor, he pulls the doctor lace till it is undone, and by doing this he get all the attention of the doctor towards himself. I say, Ruchi, how about you talking to bird watching? I am told Kasoli has lots and lots of birds. Bye for now, love, Rita. Now she's saying, and Ruchi, why don't you think about this bird watching? Because I have heard that Kasoli is having lots and lots of bird. You should also try the bird watching. Bye for now, love, Rita. So here Rita finishes her letter as she gives advice to Ruchi that she should also opt for bird watching, as it is a good time pass, and by this she can also observe the activities done by the birds. So this was your lesson. Which was written in form of a informal letter by Rita to Ruchi. So student, this was your lesson birds. Now its word meanings are there in your book that you have to write in your notebook, and question answer that also you have to write in your notebook, that I will be sharing the question answers and the book work in the form of PDF, and from that PDF the question answers need to be done in your notebook.